is the first crash damage Lamborghini with Roto, and today I'm going to try and drive it for the first time. I've done it.
Millions of fans, supercars reborn, and a YouTube empire built on wreckage and redemption. Matt Armstrong isn't just fixing cars, he's rewriting the rules of internet fame. But what if behind the scenes, it's not as clean as it looks? What if the dream garage hides something darker? Something no one wants to talk about? Under every glossy rebuild, there are things buried that he didn't show you. Cut corners, near disasters, and a rising storm of criticism. The risks are real, the cracks are showing, and in this video, we're exposing it all. Matt didn't always dream of restoring luxury vehicles. In fact, his earliest ambition had nothing to do with pistons or polish. He was a BMX daredevil, risking life and limb, soaring through the air in stunt contests, feeding on adrenaline. His YouTube journey began with BMX videos. Never cars, but fate had other plans. One catastrophic injury during the BMX World Championships changed everything. A dislocated shoulder during a 720 tail whip run ended his biking career. It was very devastating. A young man whose life revolved around speed and danger suddenly had his identity ripped away. The fall from potential stardom in BMX was brutal. With his athletic career destroyed, Matt faced a common question with uncommon pressure. What now? He turned to dead-end jobs, scraping by in retail and small gigs. But his childhood garage days returned to him, tinkering with his father and Tony, a skilled mechanic. That nostalgia became a necessity, and he began dabbling in car projects just to feel alive again. It started small, but he was hungry for purpose. What followed just seemed like a dream sequence. The Audi TT, rebuilt from his girlfriend's crash, viral 10-minute Golf R restoration,
Right, I want to keep this short and sweet because we've got a lot to get to. I want to keep it around that 10-minute mark. But here it is, my Volkswagen Golf R done and completed.
And the Bentley that brought in his first big sponsorship. Then, the breakthrough. Marcus Rashford's Rolls-Royce Wraith.
So how is it this time I've managed to get my hands on a wrecked Rolls-Royce? And one this rare as well.
Bought for £185,000 and rebuilt at a cost of £324,000. The internet exploded, views surged, and sponsors lined up. But the cracks began to show. Soon after, luxury customizer Mansory publicly criticized Matt's rebuild, saying it lacked their quality standard. They absolutely disliked it and demanded parts be replaced. Mansory accused him of replacing premium components with generic ones, including the signature illuminated door sills. That was the first red flag. When one of the most elite automotive brands publicly disapproves of your work, it's beyond just a disagreement. It's a statement about craftsmanship or the lack of it. The scrutiny didn't end there. Critics started digging into his rebuilds. On Reddit and YouTube, mechanics and car enthusiasts began pointing out glaring safety issues. No gloves during welding, lack of eye protection, unstable jacks, and using counterfeit or unverified parts. In one video, Armstrong used a set of Polish-made control arms on a Lamborghini without confirming authenticity, risking not just the vehicle, but also lives. In another case, he installed a dry sump engine with stop leak additive, a fix that any qualified mechanic would call a last resort and not a solution. But people kept watching, and in fact, the more dramatic the problem, the higher the views it got. Was this calculated? The Lamborghini Murcielago fiasco suggested it might be. Matt bought a wreck that turned out to be worse than a disaster. Internals were destroyed, and the engine was misassembled.
Let me show you what's wrong with this Murcielago and how it's ended up like it. So first off, quite obviously, nothing is there, and it's covered in dust because nothing has been there for 7 years.
The mechanic who originally worked on it, he was in prison for armed robbery. This was no ordinary rebuild, but it was a trap disguised as a project, and Matt fell straight in. But the internet loved it because drama meant engagement. Even as the car failed spectacularly, flashing every warning light and nearly frying its electronics, Matt kept the cameras rolling. Another painful episode came with the Lamborghini Urus.
And it was cheap, obviously. Oh, the body's come on.
After months of restoration, the vehicle was left undrivable due to electronic lockout issues. It simply wouldn't start, and Matt had no choice but to wait for a new control unit. It was not exactly the happy ending his thumbnails promised. And then there was the Porsche GT3, a powerful and expensive machine that crashed during post-rebuild testing.
Oh my god, oh my...
No! Oh no!
It looks like you've been in a crash.
The cause? High-speed pushing with unclear safety checks. A rebuilt car crashing under his own hands, on camera, is the kind of tragedy that should prompt soul-searching. But for Matt, it was just another video title and another million views. Behind every epic restoration, a pattern began to emerge. Matt's business model didn't seem to be about perfection, but it was about efficiency, virality, and volume. Fixing it fast, shooting the video, and then moving on. And if something goes wrong, turn it into content. In the automotive world, that mindset is really dangerous. Rebuilding a Bentley is not like building some IKEA furniture. Mistakes do ruin the product, but also they endanger lives. Even in vehicles that appeared functional, critics raised doubts about long-term integrity. Structural welds looked inconsistent. High-end restorations lacked alignment certification, and airbag systems were sometimes left inactive until the final stages. One Reddit user, a former structural engineer, even posted screenshots showing suspected chassis misalignment in one of Matt's finished builds. The community began asking, are these cars really safe, or are they just good enough for a YouTube video? And then there's the issue of influence. Matt's audience is massive, millions of subscribers, including a young, impressionable crowd. Yet there's little disclaimer and no consistent warnings about duplicating his methods. Teenagers and hobbyists mimic his workflow, being unaware of the hazards. Welding without protection or lifting 2-ton cars without axle stands. These aren't just risky, but they're reckless. He's a role model whether he wants to be or not, and that responsibility matters. Even his success story is wrapped in contradictions. Matt is a millionaire now, with a growing empire, but he didn't make it just through restorations. His wealth comes from sponsorships, ad revenue, affiliate marketing, merchandise, and raffles. It's not necessarily wrong, but it changes the narrative. He's not a humble car mechanic anymore. He's a brand, and sometimes a brand's survival depends on never admitting fault and weakness. But there are weaknesses, and they are deep. For all his charm and bravado, Matt has faced breakdowns both mechanical and personal. In several videos, he's visibly frustrated and even angry. At times, he looks burnt out, chasing bigger projects to keep the channel alive, even if it means cutting corners. The Lamborghini Murcielago nearly broke him. He even admitted it was the worst financial mistake of his life. But he still filmed it and monetized the disaster. There's a haunting question buried in all this. What happens if one of these cars fails at speed? What happens if someone is seriously hurt, or worse, in one of Matt's rebuilds? Recently, Matt has continued to court both awe and scrutiny with his ongoing high-stakes projects, including a modified Lamborghini Huracan, and a controversial Aston Martin Vantage that underwent heavy restoration. Though Aston Martin themselves gave a nod to the car's structural integrity, skeptics online remain vocal, pointing out that brand validations don't always guarantee long-term reliability when rebuilds are done outside authorized facilities. Meanwhile, his latest uploads still show the same daredevil energy, but now with increasingly complex issues, failing electronics, delayed deliveries, and escalating repair budgets. The bigger the car, the higher the fall if something goes wrong. So where does Matt Armstrong go from here? With millions watching his every move, there's more pressure than just to restore. He needs to outperform himself, and that can be a dangerous trap. The next chapter could see him doubling down on transparency, collaborating with certified engineers, or even launching a custom workshop brand. Or it could see a tragic misstep that forces a harsh reckoning with the limits of experience and internet fame. Either way, Matt's next move won't just define his career, but also may determine whether his legacy is that of a bold innovator or a cautionary tale for an industry increasingly built on spectacle. Matt Armstrong's story is complex. He's undeniably talented. His rise from BMX dropout to supercar savior is inspiring. But there's a darker side to his narrative, a willingness to sacrifice precision for pace and to trade caution for clicks. He walks a dangerous line between being an engineer and an entertainer. The truth is, rebuilding exotic cars is not a game. It's beyond just cleaning seats and replacing bumpers. It's about integrity, both mechanical and moral. And right now, many in the industry are questioning whether Matt's empire, built on viral restorations and theatrical reveals, has the depth and diligence to last. Only time will tell whether Matt's story will be remembered as one of redemption or recklessness. For now, he remains a figure suspended between two extremes, idolized for his resilience and criticized for his risks. Every video he posts is a statement, gamble, and a challenge to the line between entertainment and engineering. Because in the end, it's not just about building cars, it's about building trust, and that, unlike a Bentley or a Lamborghini, can't be rebuilt once lost.